Jess, can you turn $20 into a high protein meal?
What's up, guys? My name is Jessica, and I am the clinical dietitian on staff here at Rehab to Perform, and I'm very excited to bring this new series to you guys. On our first adventure into the cooking world, I'm actually gonna show you how to make the easiest dinner, and it should be done in less than 30 minutes, and it actually cost me less than $20. Our water is already working on boiling for our pasta, and we have our ingredients right in front of us, and you can see this is only 4 ingredients. It is literally high protein pasta, a pre-cooked rotisserie chicken, broccoli, and pesto. So this is gonna be chicken, broccoli, and pesto pasta. Who would have thought it? So I'm gonna start by actually cutting up our broccoli. And when I cut up the broccoli to steam it, I actually cut up the stems. I try and use everything when I cook. So when you chop up the stalks like this, you can just do a really rough dice on it and throw it right into your steamer basket. And then you just want to continue to break down the florets. You can cut them as small as you want. Since this is a pasta and we're going to mix everything together, I try and cut it as small as possible without leaving too many little its and bits to get stuck. I don't know if you guys did it, but when I was a child, I actually called it the stalk, and this was the bush of the tree, but the stalk of the tree was my favorite. Any type of vegetable that you have lying around the house can go into this. I really wanted to add tomatoes. So if you have cherry tomatoes, that would be great. If you have pine nuts, that would be a really good addition. You can also always use fresh parsley. All right, so once it's all cut up, you're just gonna take it over here. I am using a steamer pot today. This is my favorite pan in the entire world. And this is actually gonna cook for just a little bit. You can steam it as long as you want. It just depends on the texture that you're looking for. So I'm just gonna get this going. Our water is almost out of boil. So while we're waiting on that, I'm gonna chop up the chicken. All right, so before we actually break down the chicken, we're gonna go ahead and put our pasta onto boil. So I do try and find the high protein pasta, again, any way that I can get more protein into my family, I always choose to. If you are gluten-free, this would have worked wonderfully with Bonza pasta. They're my favorite gluten-free pasta to try. Wegmans brand also has a great pasta made with just chickpea, which is what Bonza uses. So whatever pasta variety that you have on hand works perfectly fine. So this is going to cook for about 9 minutes. Also make sure to always salt your water well when you're cooking pasta. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and open up the pesto and put it at the bottom of the bowl. Whenever you're doing stuff with sauce, sometimes it's easiest if you just put it at the bottom. So when you start piling stuff on top, you can just keep mixing to see how much you like. So again, with pesto, I always measure with my heart, like all the good chefs do. And I would start with enough to cover the bottom of the bowl. Because again, you can always add more, but if you add too much, you can't take it away. So just make sure you start with a little and add as you go. All right, now we're gonna break down our chicken. I do recommend taking off the skin, not just because that's where most of the saturated fat lives, but also because it's gonna taste a little bit weird when you cut it up small and mix it in with pasta. Oh, this is the best part. I think rotisserie chickens are the absolute best thing for quick night meals. You may use an entire chicken in this meal, especially if you have a big family, but if it's just you, whatever chicken you decide not to use, you can just break the rest of it down and put it in a Tupperware and add it to other things throughout the week, like salads or pitas or wraps, or just make a bigger batch of this and use it as a great meal prep option. So I've spoken a lot about protein and the importance of it. I'm always gonna prefer that my clients get the bulk of their protein from animal protein. Number one, it's more bioavailable, which means it's easier to absorb and utilize when you do with the body. Vegetarian protein is fine, like beans and rice, but the problem is with bioavailability, sometimes your digestive enzymes have to break through those fibers and those phytates and different things in plants to access the protein. So not all of it gets absorbed. It's perfectly fine to use vegetarian protein, but again, I just prefer, especially for my athletes, they get most of their protein content from animal, like chicken, fish, eggs, dairy. I'm a huge fan of game meats. If you like red meat and you're looking to have some sources that are a little bit lower in saturated fat, check out things like elk, venison, bison. But then again, I'm always gonna be a sucker for a really good grass-fed flank steak. Red meat is definitely part of my diet, and I do encourage people to add it to theirs, but just to make sure they have nothing but plants alongside it. So there always is a balance when working with animal. All right. When your broccoli is done steaming and your pasta is done, all you have left to do is assemble. And again, you can make as much as you need at any one given time. So this I'm making should be enough for probably about 2 people. Again, if you've got some of your bigger athletes, meals like this are great because you can always just make the whole box, you make half the box, and they can eat as much. They can always go back for seconds, and all they're getting is more broccoli, more chicken, and more pasta. So I think I'm gonna add about 1/3 of this, which would be about 1/3 of a box. Again, feel free to measure for the size of your family, or like I said, this would be excellent for meal prep. I'm gonna try and use most of the broccoli, of course. And then I can already tell you I'm probably gonna need more pesto. Said other add-ins for this that you can do whatever you have on hand, Parmesan cheese. Even though pesto has some of that in there, you can always add more. I would have loved to put in cherry tomatoes. I think that would have been just that little bit of acid would have helped a lot. And I am a sucker for a meal full of different colors. So I really wanted to add those cherry tomatoes. And then also make sure you salt and pepper to taste. And for me, that means a lot of salt. And if you are an athlete, do not skip on the salt. Salt is just as important to hydration as drinking enough water is. I think one of the reasons why I wanted to do this meal first is there's a lot of internet noise out there about what you should be eating and what you shouldn't be eating and how carbs are bad. And I think that steers a lot of people away from wanting to make small improvements. Instead of going vegan, just add more vegetables. Instead of going keto, just cut back on your portion size and mix in things that are better for you. So if you like what you're doing and you like what you're eating, again, why would you ever have to stop? So definitely never hesitate to add pasta to your meals. Again, just work with portion and add in your protein and add in your vegetables. Look at that. How pretty is she? You know you want to eat some of this. So we are going to serve up a bowl and let's have someone give it a try.
So there's these social media influencers out there and they are telling me that broccoli isn't healthy. What do you have to say to those shenanigans?
I never thought that in 2024, I would be trying to argue for vegetables. So let's just say this. No, broccoli is amazing. No, carrots don't give you diabetes. And please eat more plants. Speaking of, let's give it a shot. He's not dying. Broccoli's not bad. Look at that. We just spelled it right here in the kitchen. And? Yay! How's our broccoli tasting? Is it good?
Better than not eating broccoli.
Amen to that. It's also the only vegetable most kids will eat, and most kids are healthier than adults, so what do we got there? All right, guys, tune in next time, and we're just gonna keep making healthy, high-protein food that is delicious for you and your family on less than $20 a meal. Ha! Outtakes. Kick the foot.
I almost did a dab, but then I had a bowl in my hand and I was gonna go.
That would have been done.
What am I gonna dab with?
Would you have eaten this as a youth athlete?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yay! Awesome. I'm glad it actually turned out good. It would have sucked if I made recipes that actually really sucked. Yay!
Please make the broccoli one a bit short.
Oh, yes.
That's the hook. Would have added a ton more salt, but didn't want to freak too many people out. Try not to carry all nutrition topics in one session, but we definitely need to do one on salt because I think that's a really misunderstood topic in athletes.